All right, let's get right into this. This story comes from the late-night roads of Bangalore. It starts out as just another rideshare shift, but believe me, it ends up somewhere else entirely. A place where that line between what's routine and what's, well, unexplainable just completely evaporates.
But before we jump in, let me ask you something. Do you ever travel alone late at night? A lot of us do, right? It's just part of life, part of the hustle. Well, this story, yeah, it might make you check that rearview mirror just one more time on your next lonely drive.
Okay, so our story kicks off on what seemed like a totally normal night. We're introduced to Kushal, a student in Bangalore who's, doing the usual juggling act, balancing his studies with a part-time job to pay the bills.
So he drives one of those electric two-wheelers you see everywhere. Super economical, right? But his has this, let's call it a quirk. Every now and then, it just decides it needs to stop for a mandatory software update. Out of the blue. Most of the time, it's whatever, just a little annoying, but not this time.
So, picture this. It's been a super slow night. No customers at all. He's just about to call it a day when, ping, a booking finally comes through. It's a good fare, but the destination is way, way out there, in this kind of desolate spot past the airport. But hey, after a long, dry shift, he figures he's got to take it. All right, he drops off the passenger, no problem. Now for the ride home. And this is where things get weird. The ordinary, quiet trip back. It's about to take a really dark turn. This is where the nightmare starts.
Okay, so get this. It's almost 3 in the morning, 2:45 a.m. Kushal's completely alone on this empty road, still about 35 kilometers from home, when he sees it, that dreaded flashing light on his dashboard, the software update warning, and he knows he's on the clock.
And this is where your skin starts to crawl, because look how fast this unfolds. At 2:50 a.m., he feels it, a sudden weight, like someone just sat down on the seat behind him. The bike actually slows down. It starts to struggle as if it's now carrying a second person. He whips his head around to look, and there's nobody there. Nothing. Then at 2:55, the absolute worst-case scenario. The bike just dies. Completely. That mandatory 30-minute update has started. He's stranded, in the middle of nowhere, in the dark. And he's not alone.
Can you even imagine 30 agonizing minutes? It must have felt like an eternity. Finally, the update finishes, the bike powers back on. He must have felt this huge wave of relief, right? But it only lasts for a split second. Because the real terror, it was just getting started. This is when the thing that's been messing with him decides to properly introduce itself.
He's just about to twist the throttle and get the heck out of there when he feels it. A cold hand on his shoulder. And then a voice, a whisper right in his ear, saying, "Where are you going all alone? Take me with you."
I mean, can you blame him? He spins around, his heart just pounding out of his chest. But there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just an empty road, a little bit of fog, and one flickering streetlight. Total silence.
That's it. Pure, primal panic sets in. He screams out a prayer, and somehow the bike roars to life. He doesn't even think, he just reacts. He guns it, pushing that little electric bike as fast as it can possibly go, 100 kilometers an hour. He is just desperate to escape. So he's racing down this dark road, and he forces himself to look in his mirror. And what he sees, it's not a person. It's this black, smoky shadow with glowing white eyes, and it's flying right next to him, keeping up with the bike, no problem at all. This is it, the absolute peak of the terror.
Somehow, he makes it back. Back to his building, he gets into his room, and you'd think, okay, I'm safe now, right? But here's the thing. Just because he left the road doesn't mean the thing from the road left him. He basically collapses into his room, shaking so badly he can't even speak. His roommates are there. They see something is seriously wrong, but there's a language barrier. How do you even begin to explain what just happened? You can't. So he's completely, utterly alone with his fear. And then, of course, the horror follows him into his sleep. He has this nightmare where he's right back on that road, and the shadow is there again. Only this time, it gives him this absolutely bone-chilling ultimatum. It says, "I won't be alone anymore. I will stay with you, or I will take you with me."
He jolts awake with a scream, completely drenched in a cold sweat. But it's more than just a bad dream. The terror has literally manifested physically. He's got a dangerously high fever, just out of nowhere.
When morning comes, he's feeling even worse. And he just knows this isn't the flu or something. This is different. He's desperate, so he drags himself to the only person he thinks might be able to help him, his building manager. And thankfully, the manager doesn't just brush him off. He listens to the whole crazy story and gets that a doctor isn't going to cut it. He takes Kushal to a temple, and there a guru hears what happened, sees the state he's in, and knows exactly who they need to see. A tantric practitioner, someone who specializes in, well, dark entities.
So they go to see this practitioner, this Baba, and the very first thing he says to Kushal is, "You came just in time. You would not have survived another night." Can you imagine hearing that? It confirms everything he was afraid of. This thing wasn't just haunting him, it was killing him.
So the Baba gives him a very specific set of instructions. He gets a protective amulet to wear, something to sprinkle around his room to cleanse it, a sacred object to put under his pillow, but the last rule is the most important and the scariest. He has to stay locked in his room for 4 days, no leaving, because, as the Baba tells him, the entity will be right outside his door, just waiting.
And he does it. He follows every single rule to the letter. He locks himself away for 4 long days, and when he finally opens that door on the 5th day, it's over. That heavy, terrifying feeling that was crushing him, it's just gone. He says he felt light and fresh and for the first time in days, completely free. So, what are we to make of a story like this? Was it a real supernatural encounter on a dark, lonely road? Or was it something else? Maybe his mind, pushed to the absolute limit by exhaustion and stress, created its own monster. Honestly, maybe that's not even the most important question. It really makes you think about the power of fear, but also the power of belief. When you're faced with something that you just can't explain away, where do you turn? I'm curious, what do you think is the real takeaway from Kushal's terrifying night?